Hello everyone, my name is Vincent. Welcome to this new CGVinny coffee break. It's the number 20 today. And I'm super pleased because this is also the last introduction to software I will make. Not that I will stop, but it's because I made before introduction to designer, to painter, to stager, and to sampler. And one was missing, and it was the introduction to Substance 3D modeler. Why did I did it last? Because to be honest, that's where I was. That was the software I knew the least. So I had to learn it a bit more to feel confident, and I focused on the desktop version. As you may know, Substance 3D Modeler is a Substance it's a modeling and sculpting tool, which is kind of cool, really special, and it's now free in beta. So I thought, okay, let's wait that we announce that it's free in beta, but to make the desktop introduction. So why is it special? So I will make a small recap, but first of all, I will also share the chat with you. Lots of people today. I'm super happy with that. I just pinged on Discord. It may help as well, but tell me if it's okay with you if I ping for this kind of event. I think it's fair. I don't do it. I do like once every 2 weeks. So you just tell me. So we have Marco Vitale, the Beast, the Living Beast. We have Bassem. I saw many people. Sorry, Danny is here. TRM. So. Once again, the chat is here for you. Feel free to tell me where you come from. Danny is from France. Bonjour, Danny. I made one in French like 2 days ago, but I'm pretty sure this one will be a bit more structured because I'm tending to learn from my mistakes. So I will give the same content, but organized in a different way. So, Substance 3D Modeler, why is it so cool? So to make like a 1 minute history of 3D modeling, you may know if you are in the 3D industry for a while that it all started with vertex, faces, and edges, and what we call polygon modeling, which means that long time ago, and it's still available today, it still exists and it's still used, we did everything in polygon, which means that you were placing points on faces and edges to replicate a surface of an object. And it was great, it works well, and once again, as I say, it's still used today, but the thing is it wasn't really, it was quite technical, and it is quite technical, because if you think about sculpting in general, if you take a sculptor, when he just play with clay and starts sculpting with clay, he's not placing points on, he's placing materials and play with it. Then a few years later, I think 2004 or 5, ZBrush revolutionized a bit all of this, saying, okay, fine, we have these polygons, but that's not what we want to manipulate. What we want to manipulate, or the feeling we want to have, is to manipulate the surface, the volume, etc. And that's what they did. That's the main idea behind ZBrush, and that's why ZBrush is so great, because it allows to sculpt in a more organic, natural way. But that said, the technology underneath was still polygon, which means that sometimes if you have like to warp an object a lot, or if you want to add volume in a way, you still have to think about this technical constraint. For example, you have to add some edge loops, etc. When you think about this is nothing natural here. It's just technical constraint that we have to learn to get to the point and to get to the result we want. So things evolved, and once again, it was great, but Modeler comes with something which is a bit different, which is called the SDF technology, which stands for Sign Distance Field. And what, if we summarize, it means that it's not polygons, but you are manipulating voxels. So if you don't know what is a voxel, it's a bit, if you take an image, we talk about pixel because it's one dimension and it's a point, like small squares. Well, in that case, when 3 dimensions, so they are not square, but cube. So a voxel is a cube defined in a 3D space. And it seems, okay, this is technical, but it changed everything because it's way more natural, because for the first time, we can say that you are trying to replicate volumes with volumes. And that's way more natural. It removes lots of these technical constraints like edge loop. If you want to add volume here, you just add it. If you want to remove it, you remove it. And this is great. Another thing which is cool with Modeler, we talk about it in the chat, I think it's TRM, who say he was more interested by the virtual reality version. So it's just the right time to say that indeed there is two versions in the same software. You can either work on a desktop machine, right now in PC and soon, really soon on Mac. But you can also work in VR with a VR desktop like the Oculus 2 or 3, for example, and it works great. To be honest, I'm not really confident in VR right now. I focus mostly on the desktop, and that's why we are here today. But for a good artist, which I'm not, this is really great because you have this what we call 6D, 6-dimension sensation, in the sense that you have the object in front of you. And you can, for example, when you want to make some distortion, well, you have all the control of your hand. So you can distort, make a rotation at the same time. So this is extremely natural. And from the good artist, I have the luxury to know, once you are used to it and once you have this artistic feeling in your hands, this is great and there is no way back. So if you have an Oculus, once again, please try it. As I said at the beginning, the version right now is free in beta, so you don't even need a Substance 3D account. Well, you need the account, but you don't need any subscription. You just need an Adobe account, and you just have to go. I'm going to share my screen to the Creative Cloud application. Once again, you don't have to. If you don't have any subscription, that's fine. You can still use it. You go here. You go to the application. So it's in French because my OS is in French, and you go to beta app here, and then you have the full list of the applications which are available for you, and you will see Substance 3D Modeler beta. This is free. Once again, this is the right opportunity to try it. So why did it make it free? For a few reasons. First, with the developer of Substance 3D Modeler are insanely good, insanely crazy, and insanely productive, which is great, but it means also that they are delivering lots of new features. And before to put them in the official stable version, we want to try it. So we said, okay, and we want many people to try it as well. So we say, okay, let's make the modeler version free so you can try it. And also people this way, as it's quite fairly new software, they will be able to test Substance 3D Modeler. Once again, I'm not a pro, and I really think it changed. Right now I can make objects that would have taken me 10 times more time before. Right now I can do it quite easily. So let's jump into it. What I'm going to do, previously to the French and Spanish versions that I did, I will start with the official version. So this is the one which is in the subscription, the stable one. So if you have a subscription, you can play with this one. This is more stable. And then at the end, I will launch the beta version to show you some cool new features that are in the beta and that will be in the future in the official one. So here is how it looks. I'm just watching at the chat 2 seconds. Marco, who says hi. Marco said he's a modeler noob. I consider myself as a modeler noob. I have a really bad sense of proportion. And I made some stuff, people will say, wow, that's great. And it seems magic. And I say, well, the software helps a lot. Tom Agnetti, hello, learning after many years away from 3D modeling in the 90s. Wow, so you were a vertex pusher, as we say. And early using Max, Lightwave primarily. Now I'm in the instructional designer for the Navy, and I'm hoping to incorporate. I'm going to show the chat just to make a small round before to... Okay. Melanie, who is here. Hi, Melanie. She was there for the 2 previous versions. So hi again, Melanie. This one in English. I honestly cannot imagine it. Pleasure. I cannot imagine it will replace Max or Maya, but I'm down to try because Substance Painter is awesome. I wouldn't say that the goal is to replace this one, or it could in some cases, of course. Then it depends what's your finality. For example, we are working in Voxels, so after we can export and generate polygons to use it somewhere else. If you are working for game industry, you may want to make another pass of retopology to get the final touch. Although the automatic retopology is great, For the video game industry, the poly count is super important, so you want to give this manual love. But for most of the case, if you're in product design, just sometimes in 3D printing tools, 3D printing, it's perfect, for example. And many other, that would make the job perfectly. So we don't pretend it will replace everything, but I would really seriously argue that you will take a lot of fun, and you will, especially if you are new, that the fact not to think that much about the technical constraint that was a bit a break before will change everything. Tom Agnetti, I've been using Adobe products since the 90s and I love them. Thank you. Hoping to incorporate all the Substance app as they are wonderful. Double thank you. I'm in application, not seeing the beta product page. Beta product page, it should be at the bottom. You should have it. Sorry, if you want, contact me after the show, but it should be here, application, and if you go down, you have like beta app. It should be here. Maybe just check. It's possible. No, I think it should be by default. Maybe there is a setting in Creative Cloud to unhide beta app, but should be here. Melanie, hello. It's good to watch all 3 sessions. Yeah, do like Melanie. She watched in French, in Spanish, and in English. So if you don't learn anything about Modeler, at least you will learn 3 languages, so you will gain something. So let's start with Substance 3D Modeler. Once again, free in beta, so enjoy it. Bam. First, it starts with the welcome screen with few information, the release note, video tutorials, etc. You can go to the Discord as well to talk about it, and we want you to talk about it with us, to give us feedback, because once again, it's a new approach. So there are some stuff that makes things a bit weird at first. We're happy to discuss it. And there are many things where, if you have been like me in 20 years in the industry and it's done away, you say, whoa, what's going on? And you will see that after it makes sense. So you can make new or open, and that's it for this. So let's make new, and you will have this scene. The color may change because I have tweaked it for the background a bit, but basically you have this big 3D viewport. On the left, you will have some access to tools, and also and here you have like the details and the settings of the tools or primitive. And to continue, on the right you have few models like the color picker, material. I will explain everything, of course, environment, viewport, and node properties that we'll see later. And finally, if you look at the bottom, on the bottom left you have like an arborescence that will tell you where you are. Not what is selected, but where you are located in the hierarchy, the visual hierarchy. We'll see that later. And you have some tools, a shortcut on the right. The first thing that you see is obviously the viewport. Okay, Bassem, cool. Bassem found it, so that's fine. So it's here. I assume it works with a Wacom tablet. Yes. As you will see, I don't have good hands, I don't do everything with the tablet. There is some stuff I will do with the mouse, and some other, depending of the granularity that I do different with the tablet. So I mix both. If I'm starting sculpting, adding details, I want to be a bit more organic, I will switch to the tablet, but it's up to you. But for big huge manipulation, I will explain when I'm doing differently. So the viewport, to manipulate in the viewport, first, that's the first thing to do, like any other Substance 3D application, and also Maya, if I'm not wrong, for example. The navigation key is Alt on your keyboard. So if I hold Alt, what I'm doing right now with a 3-button mouse, sorry, you can navigate. If I click Alt plus left, you will orbit around what is selected. If I do Alt middle click, I will do the pan, and Alt right click, I will do the zoom. Note that I can do the zoom with the mouse wheel, no surprise. And if you have a 2-mouse button, first, please do yourself a favor, just buy a 3-mouse button. I think if you are into 3D, that's a good investment. But if you don't want, you are a rebel by heart, and you really don't want to change the mouse, you can do Control, in order to make the Alt middle click, you can do Alt Control left click. it does the same. And actually, this is handy when you are with the Wacom, if you don't have like this button, this third button here. Although, even if you have it, I like, with the Wacom, I prefer to use Control-Alt. Whatever. So this is how you move. And in the middle, you see a cube. And you may be tempted to say, oh, like Blender, you put a default cube, that's cute. But actually, this is not a cube. This is almost a Schrödinger paradox. But no, this is a primitive, which is actually a preview of what you will apply. And when I say apply, is what shape of clay, let's call it clay. What I'm going to call clay is like the volume that you are going to create. But to simplify, we are going to call it clay. Why? Because first, this is the name of this first tool. You may not see it, it may be small, but it's called the clay tool. So what it does, it applies clay. So how will I proceed to explain everything? So we have seen the UI. I will explain how to play with that, how to move it, and the gizmo. And then we'll see detail all the tools which are at our disposal here. Then we'll talk a bit about the difference between the sculpting, the creation context and the assembly context, which is how to manipulate at a bigger level what you have just sculpted. And then we are going to see a bit the details of how to use symmetry, instances, and other stuff. So first, let's see this guy. First thing I want to say, I said that it represents a preview of what you are going to, the volume of clay you are going to apply. So the first thing we're going to see is how to apply it. There are two ways. Either you have a big button apply here at the bottom, so that's a good hint, or you can press spacebar, and generally you want to press spacebar. So what's going on when I do press spacebar? Well, now you see that I have applied this volume. So I do Control Z. The first Control Z is replacing my primitive. And now I'm going to delete everything. So what I want to focus first is how to manipulate this primitive. Interesting, there is a small bug here. How to manipulate this primitive? Well, you just see this gizmo, which is around, which is by itself quite innovative, because generally, if you look at other applications, you have a big bulky gizmo in the middle of the object on the pivot point with everything. And when you think about it, it's a lot of information in a really little space. So here the devs had a really great idea, is to separate and split this gizmo on all sides of the object, and this is great. When you use it, this is really relaxing. You are not stressful. You are really less stressed by this. So how does it work? First, you see that there is these arrows. Once again, you know the red, green, blue color, which represent the three axes. I don't teach you anything here, or maybe, but that's what it represents. And you see that all of them has an arrow. And as you may have guessed, when you use it, well, it moves the primitive on the selected axis. Like that, and like that. You also have, if you want to move here, you see you are one axis constrained. You can use the small square in the middle of each faces, which will be a two-axis constraint. So obviously on the two opposite axes, which is great if you want to, yes, do this kind of translation. So this is for the moving part, like that. Then you have like this small ring. So with this ring, you may have guessed, is to make rotation. So you just left click on it and you see that you have the degree which is appearing, and you can choose the degree you want. If you want to be extremely precise, what you can do is get farther from the center for the ring, so you will have like logically a bit more control. Another way, if you want to constrain with delicate specific angles, you can hold Shift, and you see that by default it will put like 45 degrees angle. And if you want to be a bit, if you want a bit more granularity, you can go outside of this circle, and now it's 22.5 angles constraints. So this way you may have something that fits better to what you want. And once again, if I release, I can choose the way I want. So I have this. You see that when I do rotation, you have by default the axes are oriented with the object. It's local to the primitive. If you don't want that, you can go at the bottom here and you have orientation. So you just click here and you are switching to world scale, local space, world, or parent space exactly. No, it's not world space, or it's parent space. We'll see this notion of parent a bit later. So right now I'm going to stay in local. I'm going to move this object a bit like that, apply a symmetry. Another thing that you can do is you see there is these points. So first of all, let's say, before to show you that, let's say that you want to reset the position and rotation of this primitive. You can use the key R like reset. So if you do if you click once, it will reset the angle, the rotations, and if you hit twice, it will reset the position. So this is a great way to do. You can also reset this way with the difference that, if I'm not wrong, it will also reset this one. If you click here, sorry, will reset everything. But if you are here, here, and here, and click reset, it will just reset the shape, but keep the size. While this one, if I'm not wrong, if I do like this, and change the scale, will reset. Okay, it will keep the bigger scale, contrary to this, which will reset to the default scale. So you can play with that. So in that case, if you want to really reset everything, you do R, and you can even click on that. So if there are some shape parameters applied, it will reset them as well. Now, that last point of the gizmo are actually these points. So these are to change the scale. If you hold this one, it will take on one axis, other axis, and finally this one will scale uniformly everything. You can also, for all this control, all this, sorry, I'm going to do like this. All this setting using control. So if I'm using control, if I'm holding control, moving this, you see that now instead of moving both sides, it will move just one side. So this is extremely handy to align some stuff. And it has also, let me do this, I will explain later, some other cool stuff. For example, here, if you do control and click on the arrow, it will switch to the opposite side. It will twist the shape 180 degrees, which is cool. And if you do it on the circle, always with holding control, it will do a 90-degree angle, which can be handy as well if it avoid you to do just tack, tack, tack. You just save some clicks. That's always great. And this one doesn't do anything. So once so let's reset this again. Once again, this is one primitive, and you see that you have different one. You have the swept sphere. So this one we are going to see it a bit later, but it just moves in one axis. This one is used in a specific context that we'll see. You have the sphere. You see that there is by default it keeps the parameter that we have here. Once again, if you want to reset, you do it once. You click again, and it will reset. You see that each of these primitives comes with parameters. So some of them are common, some of them have a bit more than the other. And when you change to one, once again, it tries to keep it for the other primitive. If there is none, for example, this one there is less, well, it doesn't take it in account. So you can make a taper, you can make, like, for example, this kind of fillet to give something that give an interesting effect. So starting with that, for example, that's how I was able to start making a pencil. I can do something like this, and that's where you start playing with the shape, making a taper. If I do spacebar, I'm painting. I will do Control Z, and I will do Control to move that down and play again like that. So I can go quick and fast with that. Okay, so now let me check. I had some stuff, a list of stuff in order not to forget anything. So we see the reset, we see the controls. Okay, so we are good with that. So once again, the first tool is to add volume. So if I click spacebar, you see that I have added the object. Now you have different ones. So the first one, if you want to call it, it's the key C, like clay. And the second one is erase tool. So erase tool, you have guessed, if I take this one, well, it will remove volume. And a thing that you may have noticed right now is I made the volume and you see that there is some artifacts. So this is something that is because of the resolution of the scene, of the layer, because you can specify for each layer the resolution. And this is the same like in the brush. The more you increase the resolution, the more precise will be your work, but also the more processing demanded it will be. It means that you have to start slowly, see how it goes, because you can move up a lot, but until the point that your workstation is not able to deal with it. But here, for example, if I take this one, if I want to change the resolution, you can do it here. There you have a +1, or you can do right click. And I didn't talk yet about this menu. If you do the right click, you will have the action menu that we are going to see in details with lots of options. The first one I want to show is the clay resolution, which is here. And when I do that, you see that not only it increases the resolution, but in the official version right now, you see that it also tends to tries to fix this kind of errors. It doesn't keep the jaggy edges and add resolution on top of it. It fixes it. It's not the case in the beta one. That's why I'm more showcasing this one. We made some changes that we tested, but so far this one is better for the upscale. So I added a bit more resolution. That's great. Now let's see the erase tool. And I'm going to show you two things. First, with this, you can place, as we have seen, the object. I can detail. And if I do spacebar, what it will do, it will remove the volume at the place where the primitive was. Once again, here you see that for this kind of jaggy effect, I have two choices, or I can smooth this part. We are going to see that later. Or you can, once again, if you do, I click on the resolution. Generally, I like to increase the resolution at the end because it tends to fix super properly. So I don't want to make it 5 times because I will have a too high resolution. I prefer to sculpt, have this kind of jaggy effect, and at the end, just making increase the resolution if I need it. But sometimes I also need more details, more precise details. So yes, in that case, I will increase the resolution. So let's do it again between these two. I'm going to create, I'm going to delete that simply and create a new layer. And let's make a really Swiss cheese, a really quick Swiss cheese. So how will I do that? So I will take this, and that's where you will see that my artistic skill are a bit limited, but that's perfect for the example. So spacebar, I have my shape. Now I press E to go to erase mode. I want to have this kind of shape to make the hole in the cheese. So I could place like that, which is great. So this is called the placement mode. But sometimes you want to get faster. And for this, you can change the way you manipulate the primitive. This is the precise placement mode, but you also have the surface placement mode. And if I do that, it will remind you many applications like ZBrush where it follows the surface. So now I can do that. I can decrease. Here to change the size, I can do like this, or for all the primitives, I can do Control left right, and this way I change the shape like that. So I can up, play. And this is something that if you come from another application, you will say, okay, this kind of application, in another application, it would have been a bit tedious to do that, even if here, to do that cleanly, that clean. because you would have had to add like some edge loop, make the topology follows, etc. And that's where Voxels technology really make a huge difference in my opinion. Because here I don't have to think about that. I just put some holes, I just do my cheese, and that's it, like that. Okay, so this is the most beautiful cheese you have seen in your life. You are impressed by my artistic skill, that's awesome. Now, let's see, so we got that. In that tool, we have also another tool, which is the split tool. So what is the split tool? Well, the split tool, instead of removing the material, is just slicing the material, which is perfect for a cheese. So now you see that I have a black shape here, and really quickly, it's because now you have two volumes split in two different layers. We are going to see this later, but now just retain that for the... Oops, sorry, I am not on the good one here. And now I have this one, and I have the other one. So I'm going to remove it right now. So let me remove that by hand. I can delete it. And this is what the split tool does. It really makes split, but keeping separating into objects. Then you have the crop tool. If I'm not wrong, the crop tool, it will just keep what's within the shape. So if I do this, you see that now I just keep what's within my primitive shape. Okay, so this is for the erase, split, crop tool, which are really great. And we can say that the clay tool and the erase tool are I'm working with the mouse, and I would say that's where you want to place or delete big volumes. That's where you are going to make a bit your blocking of your asset. It's perfect for that. Then the other tool, we are going to say once I have make these blocks of my shape, I will start to play with it and adjust. And you will see that the tools are going more and more granular, starting from big shape to the surface. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but it works great. So the next one is the warp tool. So the warp tool, you may know it. Oh, and by the way, for the placement, I told you about the placement on this one. So I explained that you can change here. Oops, sorry. Here like that, but a more convenient way is to use the key G. So G allows me to switch from one to another, and as a bonus, it allows you to define where the placement gizmo will be. For example, if I put here and I do G, I will have the placement here, which is really handy because it's also, if I do that, it follows the normal, so it's great. Yeah. If I take this one and I do, for example, you see that here, it really follows the normal of the surface. So this is super useful. Once again, you can see that you have three primitives, for the warp tool. So the warp tool, what does it do? You may have guessed it. Well, it allows you to adjust your object and to adjust the shape in a more organic way. So that's where you can start to use, for many of you, oops, sorry, I'm going to switch on my Wacom, which is not plugged. Let's wait a second. Okay, so now I can start playing with that. And this kind of tool, this kind of tool are great, and you can obviously change the size, control left, right, and you also control the hardness. So what does it do? So the hardness, it will define how precise and stiff, we can say, will be the warping. So if it's at the minimum, you see that everything is smooth. There is a great transition between the center of my shape to the edges. And if I push the hardness to something like this, you see that now you will move, but the center will be warped 100%. It's just the edges which are going. This is the transition from 0 to 100% is between the two circles, to make it clear. So it's really up to you. It depends what you want to do. In my case, if I want to stay organic, I put like this. So this is a great way, once again, to start giving some more organic feeling to what you are doing. Here in my case, my fantastic cheese. Another thing here, you have the elastic tool. So the elastic tool is really inspired from the warp tool, except that if you look at the warp tool, when I move this, you see that everything which is outside of the circle is not affected. Okay, within the circle you can design, make some settings, but outside it doesn't move. On the contrary, the elastic one has like a kind of cartoony effect. You have this kind of what we call the squash and stretched effect, which allow you to move. You see that if I move here, it moves up to the left here. So that's really cool if you want to adjust a pose, a face, etc., because you have the feeling that everything is connected. It's a bit more processing intense, so sometimes if you have lots some subdivision, you will start to see it processing once you are releasing the mouse, but globally it gives like pretty interesting effects. Here you can also compressibility. I never tried. Let's try that. What does it do? Okay, I'm not even sure. Let's see. I think okay, it's maybe how it's gather stuff together. Something to test depending on what you want to do. The strength is strong. You can also, if you want to have more control, I make big movement with the mouse, but it's not affected that much. So once again, you define the precision you want. Just so you know, if you are in clay tool and press tab, you are going to switch between clay and erase. So this is good to know, you see. If you are in warp tool and you do tab, you are going to switch between warp and elastic. The next one is one which is extremely important. It's used a lot. It's the smooth tool. So the smooth tools, what does it do? Let me zoom a bit on that. Like that, doing it with the Wacom. No, I mean the Wacom. So the smooth tool, well, as you may have guessed, is when you pass in front of something. Well, this is quite smooth here right now. I'm going to try to make some stuff which are. Let me make some. Make a spoiler like this one. Let's make something which are a bit like that. Okay, so let's say I have some really edges which are a bit straight, and now I'll press D to go to the smooth tool, and now if I pen on top of that, you see well that it smoothens everything, which is great. Let me create a new scene just so we start from scratch, because I want to make like something like a cube, or you know what, a sphere, spacebar, apply, and now I show the smooth, so you got the idea. It's ready to smoothen what has been done, and it's really great to use it with, for example, the crease tool, which is here. Then I will show the build-up. The crease tool, what it does, well, this is called also the pinch in other software. Well, it tends to gather the volume here. So this is pressure sensitive, as you can see. If I press a little, it will show a little. If I press a lot, it will show more. And you may have seen that sometimes it's hard, first because I'm not a good artist, but also because you know, it's computer after all. To get a straight line, like a straight smooth line, can be hard. If you want to help with this, we have two tools, which are the lazy mouse and the steady stroke. Lazy mouse, what it does, well, both are, you have to imagine these two guys like two drunk friends who are trying to follow you in discotheque, but they're completely drunk, so they have like a delay between the reflex. So the first one, lazy mouse, when you do that, you see that when I start moving, the mouse moves afterwards. So if I do this, you see that there is a delay. I'm going to cut the pressure off, so this way it will be a bit more smoother. So this is great, although I would say this is sometimes problematic, because if I stay in the center, for example, if I want to do something small, the distance is not big enough, so it's really have to have a big distance. So for big one is great. Oops, sorry. Let me check with that. Big one works fine. I think I can. But small one is difficult. The steady mouse, on the contrary, I prefer it because first you have this kind of feedback, which is way more easy to apprehend, in my opinion, and the result is way. Oh, this one I'm going to put back the pressure, give you like way smoother stuff. And I want to show that also. This one, if you do tab instead of pinching out, creasing out, you do tab, you are going to crease in, which is great. And in conjunction with smooth, I am in smooth. Okay, if I do smooth, you can. That's how, for example, that's a great way if you want to create close effect. You can start in crease. Crease. Not even sure about. Let me delete all this like this. So if I do some creasing, I can do like that, invert with tab, and here I'm going to go back here and I'm going to put up the strength a bit, and that's where you can start to get some closing folds effects, stuff like that. You will go back to crease. Once again, forgive my lack of artistic skills, but you get the idea. That's where you can start playing with that. So crease is really strong, and smooth, I think, let me check, there was a keyboard, so it has been D, it may come back, yeah, it's okay. So there is two ways, I think. If you do D and you hold, you are going to be temporarily in smooth tool. If you release, it's fine, but if you just click on D, it will go directly here. Here I don't follow anything. So this is another shortcut. Right now it's D, it may change and get back to Shift. For some reason we changed and decided to put to change from Shift because we had some plans for Shift, but there is no muscle memory. Some artists said, oh wow, that's weird to put D, so it may come back to Shift. That's something. Once again, in the chat, if you have questions, it's in my right, I see them, so feel free to ask. Just pursuing, there is one which is really important, which is the build-up tool. So the build-up tool, what it does, that's where you are going to start playing with the already existing surface in a way which is a bit more organic. I'm going to voluntarily push the strength too much, but the build-up tool allows you, I'm going to choose, to start adding material. Once again, if you do tab, you are going to remove material. And once again, in conjunction with D, you can give something a bit, sometimes if it starts to be too jaggy or too visible, D, you just do that, you play with tab, you remove, etc. And here you can start, that's where you are going to start building this organic feeling that you may look for. So great tool, works great. You can, in this one, once again, you can choose size, hardness. All these ones, generally you have size, hardness, sometimes spacing. The spacing is defining the, like in, let me put like lots of pressure. You see there is a spacing like that. Generally, you may not want that except for something made by the human. I tend to put it to 1%. But that's where, yes, once you have a shape that you like, sorry, that's where you are going to play a bit. For example, here, if I would go back, maybe I will change. I will first go to the warp tool, push it a bit, change adjust the shape, and then I will start to play with the with the build-up, etc. So that's really. It really depends how you want to work, but generally you start big and you add this kind of detail later on. On the build-up tool, another thing that it's cool is that it's quite recent, but now you can use textures. There are some default one, but there are also stuff like this that you can use to give something that directly will look way more organic, which is great. So you can, once again, break something. So I invite you first to define the shape at large, play also with smooth if necessary, but if you want to start giving some this kind of stuff, you know, of shape, you can, and it of course adapts depending of the kind of of texture that you are going to use. And if I'm not wrong, you have a small plus, so you can import your own textures as well. So this allows you to very quickly do something that may have some sense. The next one is the flatten, but as you see, I'm playing right now. Flatten is great, especially if you want to do stylized stuff, because it, let me place this one. It takes the surface like that, and it starts to, well, make some faces like that, which is awesome. And if I'm not wrong right now in the, we'll see that later, but in the beta version, you also can make this with a texture, I believe. So that works super great. And that's where you start to get this feeling of clay, like almost clay from a play school or something like that. That's super nice. And yeah, the dev team make a lot of effort. It's way more smoother than before. And you can get this kind of feeling of clay to play with that. So once again, if you start into 3D, if you are an accomplished artist in 3D, I won't teach you anything, but first start from big, place your shape, and then refine it, choosing a tool which are below here. It will be better. The inflate is great. This one could have been a bit higher in my opinion. What it does, like the balloon effect, if I do this, you see that it will just inflate the shape, which can be useful as well. And it works with texture, and this one is funny, right? I find it funny. Maybe I don't need a lot, because if I do this, you see that you have this kind of almost, it looks like an explosion. I think it's David Farrell who did that. I think he watched Oppenheimer too much, because you have this, oh, sorry. This kind of effect, and I think the new version in beta is even more, is even faster. I will ask David. And you can even make, I live in Spain, I'm French, but I live in Spain, but I found that you can make like a churros maker. So churros is a Spanish pastry with this one, and if I hold it like this and I wait, and you see that it takes the direction of me, and now I have a nice churros. Or maybe you can make a Dune 2 remake, like a sandworm. You have to retain once again that it does not follow the normal of the object. It just tries to reach the camera. So, oops, sorry. Let's remove that before we are not compliant anymore. So these are the tools. The last one is the painting tool. So if I use it by default, you may say, oh, nothing's happened. Why? Because you may have noticed that on the top right, there is this color picker. What you can do is, if you change the color, let's put something, now you can paint, which can be useful. Honestly, to be honest, my own experience is that it can be great. Sometimes there are artists who like to mark some shapes. Like for example, if I do this, they want to do something here and they start to draw on it because they want to sculpt on it. I'm not using it to texture personally. I think you can, but we have Substance 3D Painter, which is way more advanced for that. So, and I'm used to Painter, so I'm really focusing on the shape here, but it's there. So you can play with it, and this is great. I'm going to close it right now. And please note that the color you choose is the one that is going to be used for your next clay creation. So I'm going to put it like that for now in a gray. It should be fine. Okay, so we have seen lots of stuff. We have made a bit the feature, like all the tools. Now we are going to see a bit this right menu. Oops, I'm going to move that by Wacom on the side for now, because I want to show some action. So we have seen that there are some action which are here.